Hi, in this video we'll be getting started with using Dubler in Reason. So once you've downloaded and registered the Dubler app, you want to click Create New Profile to open up a blank profile. And at this point you'll also want to make sure that the Dubler mic is properly connected, and if it is, the logo at the top here will be lit up green. So once this is done, in Reason you'll want to go to the Preferences and go to the Control Surfaces tab. Here you want to select Add Manually, and from the Manufacturer drop-down menu select Other, making sure that the model here is set to MIDI control keyboard. At the bottom where it says MIDI input, you'll then want to set it to Dubler and click OK. Also make sure that Use with Reason is selected and the green tick is here. Next you want to navigate to the Audio tab and make sure that the buffer size is set to 128 samples or below in order to reduce any latency. If you're on Windows, you'll need to use an audio driver such as ASIO for All or a driver that comes with an audio interface, and make sure that the buffer size in that driver is also set to 128 samples or below. You can find a tutorial on how to set up ASIO for All if you need in the description of this video. Once that's done, you can now close the preferences. So now all our settings are sorted, it's time to set up Dubler properly with Reason to start making music. So if I want to control drums or samples, I first want to set up a few triggers. So you can check out our other video for an in-depth guide on how to change triggers, but I'm just going to quickly add a few now. So I'm going to add the first one here. Always make sure that the examples you give are short and sharp and consistent. I'm just going to add a couple more. So once that's done, it's also important to note that Dubler sends out information for both control and triggers. And to make sure that the track or the drum machine that you've got isn't receiving any accidental notes, you can turn off either side with the toggle switch here. So I'm going to turn off the controls here whilst we're doing drums. So I've got this Kong drum designer here in this rack. I'm going to make sure it's armed by clicking here, and I can now use those train sounds to control that drum machine. If I want to control a pitched instrument, I want to make sure in Dubler that I'm in a key or a custom scale before controlling a synth with it. So back in Dubler, I'm just going to turn the trigger side off quickly and put the controls on now that we're doing pitched instruments. You'll see that you're in a chromatic scale. And when you open a blank profile, the auto key detect feature will be on. And this will mean that if you start singing, it will automatically detect the key you're in and place you in that. So I'm just going to do that now quickly. Ba, 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 ba. So it's put me in a B major pentatonic for that. If you want, you can change this at any point using the root note and the scale here. And if you want, you can also turn the auto key detect feature off using this toggle here. But now that I'm in a key, back in Reason, I've got this synth that I've set up here, which is just the Europa synth. Make sure it's armed, and now I can sing or hum a melody and I'll hear that back. Da, 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 da. So we'll now also take a look at how to map the control dials in Reason. So in Dubler, these 4 control dials at the top here can each be mapped to any MIDI mappable parameter within Reason. And as you can see in the control settings, if you click on them, each have a CC number allocated to them. So to get started in Reason, you want to right click on the parameter you want to control. So I'm going to select the resonance here on this filter and select Edit Remote Override Mapping. Now here in the control surface, you want to select this MIDI key control keyboard that we set up earlier. And once that's done, you're going to go back to Dubler and select Map next to the relevant value you want to use. So I'm going to hit Map on this eval. So now you can see that's on CC21, which is the eval. Now if I hit OK, that's mapped. And as you'll hear now, as I move from an R to an E, that resonance goes up. And to map a trigger, you can simply follow the same steps again and just make the train sound for that trigger into the mic instead of hitting the map next to the relevant val. So that's how to get started using Dubler with Reason, but make sure to check out our other set of guides and tutorials to go more in depth with each part on how to get the most out of Dubler.